Hey, Motorman here. And today we're going to talk about using the front brake in a curve. Why the front brake? Because it puts weight on the front tire. Coming around this curve, I get off the throttle, a little bit of brake. It helps to steer the motorcycle around the curve. Front tire will take a tremendous amount of force. What it won't take is an abrupt force. Coming to these curves here, I'm off the throttle, just a tiny bit of front brake, that's all I need, because I'm not going at an outrageous speed. Little front brake, turning my head and eyes, looking through the curve as much as possible. Squeeze that front brake. Don't snatch it, don't grab it. Squeeze that front brake. And you could practice this in your garage. 1% brake, 5%. 100%. You never want to use 100% when you're in a turn, but you've got to learn to squeeze that brake. Same thing with the rear brake. Don't stomp it. Squeeze, push, squeeze. Practice that as many times as it takes to get the idea, and then do it out on the road. Going straight, so I'm accelerating. Coming to the curve, I get off the throttle, a little tiny bit of front brake. Very easy thing to practice. You should be able to feel it, how it helps you steer around the corner. Remember that miles per hour equals radius. If you find yourself running wide, you got to slow down. The slower you go, the tighter your radius. A couple of ways of slowing down. One is, of course, letting off the throttle. Depending on your pace, that may work for you. Right here, I'm not using anything. Now a little maintenance throttle to get through that tiny curve. The bike is pointed in the direction you want it to go, then you could accelerate. Coming up to a curve here, I'm going to pick up a little bit of speed so I can practice using that front brake. Off the throttle, a little bit of front brake to slow me down. Now I just maintain throttle. I don't want to use throttle and brake at the same time. And you may say, well, why use the front brake in a curve? Because it puts weight on your front tire. Your front tire can take a tremendous amount of force pushing down. What it can't take is an abrupt force. I like to use 2 fingers on that front brake. In fact, I cover that front brake all the time. Accelerate, off the throttle, a little bit of front brake. Now I just maintain throttle. Coming to a little curve here, I'm off the throttle. That's all I need in this case, but my fingers are still covering that front brake. Covering that front brake is going to save you about 1 to 1.5 seconds to get your bike to start to slow down. I'm on that front brake just a little bit, looking through the curve. When I'm pointed in the direction I want to go, I can straighten up and add throttle. A little tiny bit of front brake. Now these big sweepers, I'm even adding a little throttle because I don't have all that much lean angle. When I get the direction I want to go, I can open up the throttle. Coming up to a curve here, a little bit of front brake, even a little rear brake. Another curve, off the throttle, just a tiny bit of brake because the engine braking is enough at the speed I'm going. But if you get surprised and you're coming around a curve and there's something in your way, or it happens to be a decreasing radius curve, having those 2 fingers already on that brake will prevent you from snatching or grabbing the brake. You can even go into the turn with 1 or 2% of front brake on. That way you'll never be surprised and you won't have that tendency to suddenly snatch that front brake. At this pace, I can maintain throttle. I can even shift in the curve because I'm not using up a lot of lean angle. But even with almost at your limit of lean angle, you could still use that front brake. You just can't use 100%. You never want to have 100% of brake when you got that bike leaning far over. Now I'm going to make about a 90-degree left turn up here, so, and I'm sure you've done this without realizing it. I'm on the brakes, downshifting, and now I can add throttle. We've probably done that a million times and never even thought about trail braking, but that's what you're doing, trailing on brake and then trailing off the brake when you've got your proper speed and the direction you want to go. Now some of you may say, you know, I've seen you do a lot of stuff like this, very similar to this in prior videos, and you're right. But I believe in keeping it simple, stupid. The KISS principle. And maybe, just maybe, the way I said something this time will make that light bulb in your head go off. And you'll say, ah, that's what he's talking about. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned something. Thanks for watching.